this huge piece of olive ash mounted on the lathe. It's mounted on face plates attached to Evolution chuck to give me the gap between the piece and the bed that the lathe is sat on. I've got a bit of an overhang there, so I need to push it out a little bit. It's 42 inch about diameter, and it's just shy of 1.5 inches thick. Now, before we start turning, we need to realise that this has got a lot of rot in it. Because of that rot, there's been some movement in this piece since it was cut. And you've got to expect it really as it's drying out. And there is slight movement. Now, because it's just shy of 1.5 inches thick, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a platter out of this. I'm not sure. It will depend how much has got to come off either side, either face, to true it up. It could be that this is going to turn into a battle shield, and I won't know any of that until I start turning. So I'm going to finish supping me coffee, put me turning smock on, and then we're going to crack on. So the first order of business then is to true this edge up. So I got a feeling this is going to be fun. Right, I'm going to start swinging and then press the start button and stand back, keep well clear, just in case this just goes on the first instance. Right, I'm going to stop it there. This is real time. And you're hearing those thuds where I'm hitting dense wood. There's obviously a lot of rot on the edge of this. So what my concern is those dense thuds are going to cause those screws to rip out of that rot that's in the centre. So, right, onwards and upwards. Okay, so I've moved the camera and my tool rest. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and try and true up this leading edge. I'm going to come from the centre towards the outer edge just to true this area up as best I can before moving to the front. If I turn it by hand, hopefully you can see where my finger is, the movement comes closer and then further away again. So there is quite a considerable bit of movement in this wood. So we'll give it a go, see what happens. Right, so I've got the phone in my hand now. I've taken it out the stand just because I want to show you a problem that I've come across. So this big crack here, look. So hopefully you can see this. I'm going to put my thumb and that over there. Can you see the movement? And that is a huge piece. There's a bit of movement there, look, in that rot. Now I don't think that's going to snap, but that is going to cause me all sorts of problems trying to turn this. All sorts of problems. As you can see at the top there, look, I haven't touched it with the chisel, and then the chisel comes on there and it is ripping like mad. And I think that's because of this movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a load of contact spray adhesive in a spray can, and I am going to fill this void with that contact adhesive and let that set before I continue, so that that wing, if you like, becomes more firm and solid. And then I'll deal with the glue after I finish turning it. Right, so as you can see, contact spray adhesive, it's not pretty, but when that goes off, hopefully that will be more secure and it enable me to turn it. I'm just going to get the can so you can see the can. I've had this in the workshop for ages. It's trim fix adhesive. I can't remember where I bought it from, but it's quite good. It's directional, look, so like a can of spray, and that will run down inside that crack, and hopefully make it a little bit more secure to turn. Right, there you go, trick of the trade. I'm going to turn the front now, change my focus to the front. It's going to be a battle shield because there's just not enough meat on it to create a nice deep platter for the wall. So the glue, it's done its job, and it has stopped a lot of movement. There is a little bit of movement still there, but it stopped the majority of it. So change everything around, start tackling the front, and come back to the back later. So the camera's back in my hand again, and we're currently turning the front of this battle shield. But you can start to see now the grain coming out in this piece. Just look at that grain. And as I go around, I'll spin it a little bit. Then you start to see the areas of, huge areas of rot there, look. There's an inclusion there. But look at that grain. Isn't it absolutely beautiful? This leading edge, I've got to where I want it now. It needs some sanding, but I've turned it right up until this point, as you can see. Before I go any further, we got to start talking about decoration. How are we going to decorate this shield? Now, I've got an idea for all this natural edging, and what rot I pick out will give me a really fantastic natural edge. But it needs a little bit more than that. It can't just be a plain disc of wood with a fancy natural edge. And I know it's got some beautiful grain in it, but there's got to be some decoration. So my line of thought at the moment is to use a skew chisel and skew in some channels and then carve some decoration in them. So there'll be bands, maybe 2, maybe 3 bands, and I'll ebonize those bands once I've carved them. Now, that may lead me to ebonize what rim there is to highlight the natural edge. I'm gonna put some brass or copper, I think, into this natural edge. I'm gonna really go to town on it. There's gonna be so much natural edge on this, and the contrast between that brass or copper and the verdigris that I can put on it, and the black and the grain, I think is just going to make it sing really loudly. So I don't really want too much decoration close to the outer diameter, so I'm going to leave that undecorated. This kind of this area here, I'm going to leave that undecorated. This surface, I'm just going to sand that. And then on this lip, this turning lip that you can see, from there in, I think I'm going to have a series of bands of ebonized timber. It'll all be one piece. Obviously, I'll ebonize within the lines of the skew chisel cuts, and then carve a pattern in between those lines, as I said, and go from there. So I've got a round nose scraper and I'm going to do that concave now. Right, so that's that done. So we're going to have decoration in this area, then a concave that's going to be bare wood, and then I'm going to do another little flat, I think, a slightly narrower one, and then maybe a third one towards the centre. So we're at that stage now where I think pretty much all the turning on the front has been done that I'm going to do. I've got a band here, then a concave, and then another band. I haven't done a third, I've just left it at the two. And what I'm going to do is get the carving chisels out, or maybe even the burrs on the Dremel, and put a decoration in that one and then a different decoration in that one. And eventually those two bands will be ebonized. Now, you remember I said there was a lot of rot in this, especially in the centre. Well, as I'm turning it, some of it started to come loose. Now, thankfully, all that glue I put on has held a lot of it together, but a lot of it did come out. So if I move out the way, you can see, look at that. It's starting to come out. Right, so all of this area is rot. So I don't quite know how far I'm going to have to take it, but I haven't turned the back yet. So I got to crack on and finish turning the back, because I don't want any more of that to come out before I've finished turning, because already there are huge gaps that I'm going to have to skip over. So I've got to work the speed up a little bit to be able to skip over those. I don't want any more holes. Now, as I said to you, the plan is ebonize these two rings and decorate them, bit of carving. They're going to be black. I'm going to ebonize what is the turned rim, and then all of the natural edging, all of whatever perimeter I get in there, whatever's left, all of that natural edging, I'm going to do either brass or bronze and try and get a verdigris reaction on it so that it comes up green as well. There is masses of work left to do on this, but for today, I'm going to turn the back. Wish me luck. Well, as you can see, we've resorted to being on the floor. So, whilst turning the back, I realised that there was just no chance of truing that up without it coming off. There was just so much rot in there. So, before it shot off the lathe, I've actually taken it off the lathe. All the front turning is done, and I've managed to create a step where I know it's flat this side, but it's not flat that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eke out all of the rot, and then I'm going to get my big Makita belt sander out and level this rough area as best I can with that belt sander. And that's pretty much all I can do, really. I may be some time. I think what we'll do is we'll call this part one, shall we?
and we'll do all the decoration and stuff in part 2.